My name is William Wilkerson. I was in the Marine Corps on a regular enlistment from 1942 to 1945. They were forming up the 21st Regiment as part of a 3rd Division. Marine Corps just had 2 divisions of infantrymen. There we went to overseas to New Zealand. And the thing that was interesting about that, we went over a ship that was a nitrate carrier and had no room for resonance in the hold. They were no ventilation. And so consequently, everybody stayed on deck. So you actually had 1,200 men lounged all over the deck of this ship. And of course we went across the equator. So when we got to New Zealand, you either sunburn or tan, one or the other. What we had to eat was every morning we had a Spam sandwich and a cup of coffee. And then in the late afternoon we had another Spam sandwich and a cup of lemonade. And that was it until the next morning. They wanted to put a landing at night. Now they had done that before. The landings the Marine Corps had made was in the daytime. The only thing was, there was no moon. It was pitch black, and the maneuver required it to be completely black. So everybody began to get lost. Before long, the landing craft were bumping into one another. The groups lost who they were, and it got pretty well tangled up. It was so mixed up that the Marine Corps never made another night landing. We then went up to Guadalcanal. We went by New Caledonia, and we got to New Caledonia. We were halted there, and we got in amongst some battleships. We went out there, and it was a trap. The jet fleet came out to meet us, but what they meant was another part of our Navy came out from the west of them and got them. And the ships that we were in turned around and made it back to the Solomon Island, and we went to Guadalcanal. And the next screwball thing that happened, everybody in our regiment went ashore and disappeared, except our battalion. We went ashore and we stayed right on the beach wondering where were we going. And real late that night, the beach was like this, sand dunes back there. It says, pitch your tents, that's our tents. We're going to stay here. And he said, wondering for what? We don't expect a Japanese attack that way. But what it was, we got assigned an unloading responsibility. And first thing at dawn the next morning, we all stripped our clothes and went out into the water and rescued barrels of gasoline and things that we all packaged to float. And so what had happened beforehand, the cargo ships the Navy had got thrown all to hell. And the Admiral said, no more, let the cargo have the Marines push it in. So these cargo ships would come up at night, make a U-turn and throw all the cargo over, everywhere from gasoline to fuel. And as soon as dawn came, we would swim out and push all the stuff up. We would sit on the beach and watch dog fights. And at first they were very disheartening because our planes were inferior to the Jap Bureau. And we saw a lot of our guys get shot out of the air. The F4F didn't have it. The end of the 7 weeks, it was the F6F, a later version of the plane, showed up, and they could take on the Japs. So the whole thing reversed itself with the Japs losing out. Of course, there, the F4U shows up, and it was shooting Japs down like they were toys, really. It was a wonderful airplane. From there we went up. They wanted an airfield on Bougainville. After we got ashore, we learned something. After out of the woods walked a Jap with his hands up and kept walking towards us until the center of the gun struggled and blew up. He was going to get to us and blow up, but when he struggled from falling, he blew himself up. Well, our colonel that was in charge of this said there will be no prisoners taken, no prisoners. Then we went to our whole division went to Guam, and that was a little more bloody than Bougainville, and they had moved in a whole lot of artillery and so forth then. But we prevailed, and what we then witnessed was there was on the northern part of Guam, there's a whole lot of cliffs, very high, about 300 feet water. And these people, the Jap civilians, as well as their soldiers, were jumping off the cliff, committing suicide, in fact. And it was what was sad to see so many women holding the baby jump. It was so high, and it was kind of rocky down on the beach that they just one right after the other died there. We were supposed to be inhuman creatures that had taken the island. And they were running from monsters. Now we were sitting over around the island on a cliff that was opposing where they were watching them. We couldn't do anything about it, and they were doing us a favor by committing suicide, really. We didn't have to shoot them. They went and jumped. We all left Guam and joined up with 5 battleships, a bunch of cruisers, and we were loaded from there. And they were going to neutralize Iwo Jima. Now the Air Corps had already been neutralizing, but they weren't where they were dropping the bombs. They were dropping the bombs on top of the ground. The jets were all under the ground. So it turned out that they realized they wasn't doing a bit of good. And with all the battleships brought in and shelling them, they wasn't no good. The decision still held, so the next day was calm, and we, once again, after breakfast, we got out down the ropes, and I got on the landing craft and went in. We were here in front of a battleship when they let loose a salvo on your head, and the pressure was terrible. It hurt our ears. In fact, we were so hard pressed for landing craft. Some of the landing craft we were using wood landing craft. They came in with a commissary right in between us and our ships. Our ships were firing at them. They weren't going up in here, firing level at them. They did shoot them down, but they were also catching us on the ground, on the beach. We lost half of our outfit from our own fire from the guys on the ship. They were shooting, they were hitting us. Black sand beach, long beach. Now this sand was actually a residue from a volcano, the mountain to the side of the volcano. Now the thing they had, the Japs up on that volcano could see where we were. They had maps to tell their marksmen where to fire, and they fired from the other end of the island. So they were sighting it from one end of the island and firing from the other, which was bad news for us. That was the in-between. We lost a lot of people as a result of our artillery aim from up here was firing from down here. And then they brought in another regiment. I think they were one of the regiments of our division never made it there. It was bad. The whole thing was bad. We weren't supposed to go there. We went there because the Japs had the advantage. Our company commander had picked me out as a friend and so. And on the third day, he was standing up. Well, I know, he started giving me some instructions to relay somewhere. When he got shot, he was telling me, bang, kind of bent me out of shape. There were people in the ground. They popped over the top to a tunnel, come up and start shooting everybody. And they were being told from up on the mountain where people were. That was one of the bad things we had to face, was their underground army. When our captain got it carried off, we had two brand new officers, second lieutenants. They just got out of OCS. That morning, one of them got hit in the head with a mortar. You don't see too many of those things you not want to throw. It was toward the end of most of our activity. We had begun to kill most of them. We would begin to know how to find their tunnel entry. And we throw a phosphor gauge down in it, close it up, smoke the bastards out right there. And they got a lot of our tanks, but they exposed where their large artillery was. Well, it later part of it I was roaming around, and hardly ever I run across a fellow I went to school with, and he was in the 4th Marine Division, but he was roaming around too. And we settled down in a shell hole and reminisced some. Somebody up on the mountain was still active. They had them to send a mortar shell in with them. And the mortar shell, the force goes up, and it got my leg. And it was like chain hooks in it. But I was laying and it went over the top of him. I was very lucky. And the other guy got his legs bad up above. He called back to where his people were. And I crawled where mine were. We got bandaged up, and it hurt. Then we got the word was that it's over. Hell, I got wounded the day before it was over. That kind of griped me, but I could hobble. Well, I would have to say this, that somehow it reincarnated me. I think I was a different person when they had to God. I think I started life over again. I'd be embarrassed with the answer, but after so long you get used to it. Until you sit and think. Tears will come to your eyes. There were so many names on there that was on the platoon I was in. Which name? That it was I was going down reading. It was a shocker when I came there, because that could have been me. I think I was lucky